Hello, everyone. We're live now.
Hello.
I've done the thing. We are live, and be careful what you say on air. Yes, but no. Well, that's safe. That's safe. We all know what's coming there.
Hi, Mom.
Hello. Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of Talking Initiative, where us from Taking Initiative talk about taking initiative. That's it. There we go. The episodes we will be talking about today are episode 49 and 50. We hit 50 episodes. Holy damn.
That's crazy. Damn.
Do we get an achievement? Does everybody get like a
Bloop, bloop.
golden trophy?
Oh, well, I got this 50 tattoo on me.
Actually, do we all get like a child's karate trophy?
That would be very cool. Drew, if you can also bump up your volume ever so slightly.
I can
Up the
definitely
volume.
Actually, here, let me
The volume.
bump this game just a little bit. How's that?
There we go. That's much better. Everyone in chat, let us know if there are any audio issues. That way we can tweak them on our end as well. But before we get into it, we need some introductions to introduce everyone here. So, Drew, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm currently Drew Tillman, and I am Krusk.
John.
I chose those words on purpose.
That was good.
I'm Bucky, or as Josh calls me, John. I'm Finn.
Morgan.
Hi, I'm Morgan and I play Charlotte.
And Nick.
Nick Figueroa over here. Kent Brickwood. East Farthing Brickwoods.
And I'm Josh Perault. I am the DM of this almost finished campaign of Curse of Strahd. We only have a couple episodes left. I say couple, it shouldn't be a couple. We have several episodes left to finish this arc of the final countdown and also the Curse of Strahd campaign, which is dubbed the Deathwalkers campaign because of Deathwalkers and friends. So episode 49 was right before the new year, which we left everyone on a bit of a cliffhanger. In episode 50, people have been saying they've enjoyed a lot because we had some introspective character conversations and growing and interactions. And that was a lot of fun, and Nick made me laugh the entire time I edited that episode.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So what happened in episode 49? Is there anyone who wants to jump on that immediately? I will say it started in the bone room.
I will say, do you want like a play-by-play, or do you want the short version of it?
Well, it depends on how short the short version
is we all left the fucking castle.
The short version is we fucked up.
We may need a little longer than that.
All right.
Okay, yeah, we were.
So we started in the bone room.
We met a new person, right?
We met Cyrus.
That's Cyrus, yes.
God, this was so long ago. There's
It
so much
was.
that happened in these episodes. So we met Cyrus. There was a persuasion check by me that was good to try and have him help us get to where we needed to go with like minimal fuss. And then other decisions were made by other characters outside of my control. And scared
the danger of playing a team game.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm so mad.
No idea what you're talking about.
I thought I was over it, and then I re-listened to the episode, and I was like, I'm not over it. But I'm texting Josh like, meh. Then we went on a merry chase to fuck operate, where I rolled a natty 1 on a perception check, stumbled right into a trap, and zoomed us all up to the top of a elevator death trap.
Yep.
And that was Cross, Kent, and I. We almost beheaded Kent in the process of us trying to peek out the top of the elevator death trap. We ended up having a combat session with a carpet and a painting, which makes us sound really lame. We just tripped over it and we were like, fucking roll initiative!
If it weren't we clearly had a psychotic break, but it's D&D, so...
Right.
We were all on edge.
Yeah, the fun fact was there was nothing special about that carpet.
Yeah, we just
God.
made it up. Yeah.
We rolled Kent up in it. Tried to strangle him.
And then Ven arrived just in time to do absolutely nothing to help us.
Yeah.
Just fucking wheezing after running up all those stairs like...
Gotta get more cardio in.
And then we all ran back downstairs and we went further downstairs in the bone room We met back up with
Cyrus? Is that the name you're looking for?
no.
Oh, you know what? Episode 49 actually may have started up in the room after the fight, but it's good recap anyway.
It did.
It
Yeah.
did.
Okay. So I was going to say that felt like so long ago. So yeah, 48 I think was the carpet fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we went downstairs into the
And we
dungeon.
went down into the water, and then
the flooded water.
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
Morgan had a panic attack because she doesn't like water in anything.
Can I tell you guys though? I actually realized, like, because whenever I play video games or any situation where I have to, like, my character has to be in like opaque water, I get really nervous. Like, I freak out. And it was playing that moment in Strahd where I realized that is because I watched A New Hope at a very formative age, and like have just been terrified of murky, like, gross monsters in water ever since. So it was enlightening to me on that respect, because I had never put those two things together.
I feel like we
Also,
hit some really good psychological ground there. We got
Yeah,
Well, also,
Yeah.
people love putting things in murky water in like TV and movies and stories. Anytime a character has to get into water that's, you know, up to their waist or higher, there's something hanging out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There's no point for it to be that high otherwise. It's like
No one's like, oh, they walked through some crazy deep dark water and it
No.
was all fine. Like, that's not
Yeah.
a good story.
It's hiding murder.
Yeah.
It's
So
hiding.
if anybody out there tells you that D&D is not therapeutic, you tell them to go fuck themselves.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
Really quickly, though, I also realized that I have a bit of a fear of that too, but it is not from Star Wars. It's from biology class. Because in bio, we learned about this thing that if you, like, you're in this body of water, if you peed in it, this thing would travel up the pee and do terrible things.
oh yeah.
Yes,
What?
It's the dreaded Kendiru fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never seen
What?
Grey's Anatomy? Come on. There's a whole episode.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Yeah, it's a fish that'll go inside the pee hole and then expand.
Yeah.
Okay, they're
That's a real thing. So
Yeah.
it's not made up. It's not
You're
part
welcome,
of,
audience.
Yeah.
Also, you
that
should,
in Australia.
if you're in
I don't know.
dark water, you shouldn't pee anyway, because there's a lot of parasites and whatnot that respond to that sort of temperature change, and they will enter your.
Just don't pee in open bodies of water.
Yeah.
Just
Just
don't
don't
pee.
do it.
Just don't
Yeah, just
pee.
Never pee. Be a Harry Potter wizard and just magic it away.
Yeah, right? Oh my God.
Prestidigitation, that shit.
We'll talk about that another time. Anyway, so then we met with no, I'm sorry. Who does Josh play that we constantly forget?
Ismark,
Ismark.
which
I'm
you just
sorry.
forgot also.
I know,
Hey.
I was literally like,
On par for the course.
Polish said that fish is an Amazon fish. That is absolutely correct.
Ah.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
yep, that makes
okay.
sense.
Also home for scary things, the
Yes.
Amazon. Okay, so we went through the murky dungeon water.
Mm-hmm.
I told a werewolf to go fuck himself.
Yep. That was
And-
a needle.
Mhm. I was really happy with that, like, RP session though, because I felt really good doing it. Nice little Charlotte moment, so I felt good about that. But sorry, derailing into how I feel instead of what happened. Then we got through that.
Mm-hmm.
Krusk rolled an amazing natty 20 on making sure we didn't get sucked into a drowning trap.
Yes. Good roll. Good roll.
We went to an area that was also wet and murky, and I had my fears totally realized, because then we fought zombies.
Mm-hmm.
We climbed up on the wall.
Yep.
Kent fucked up his roll up the wall and had to get pushed up it like a baby.
Yes.
And then we entered a room with
No, Cross fucked up his roll too and fell face
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, both of them
That's
messed up
right.
their rolls.
That's
Yep.
right.
And it came so on the edge of me rolling so nicely.
Yeah, that's
It
all.
evens out. It helps.
And then I fell into some dirty zombie water.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we found the brazier room, or how
The
Josh
brazier
referred-
room.
The brazier room.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
And we're never letting that go. I'm so sorry.
Don't because it's
Um,
funny and it's terrible for me.
Yeah. And then we made a bad decision.
A smart bad decision though. I
Mhm.
will say.
A decision that was hotly.
Decisions were made, they were wrong.
Yeah.
There we go.
We thought
But they were
about
at least
it.
thought about.
We were logical
Mhm.
about it.
We didn't just throw a rock
I-
into the thing.
You know,
We can
what
rush it.
I will
That's
say is that I don't remember I don't remember knowing that there was any other exit outside of that room. So I thought it was just the brazier.
Mm-hmm. Listening back, though,
there was another exit.
There was three exits.
Three exits?
Three.
There was three pathways behind the brazier.
Yeah. And
he specifically said there's a pathway to the left that goes up, there's a pathway to the right that goes down, and there's one in the middle that like curves around the corner.
And let's take the brazier.
I want this fucking thing. What is it?
We thought it out.
This thing.
We thought it out. We looked at that riddle. We like deconstructed it. It took forever for us to pick, and then we did, and then we were
I'm pretty sure we were in that room outside of the game talking about that for 30 minutes or more.
20 or 30 minutes. It was a really long time.
We just sat there, and then like that was it. We were like all sitting there. I'm pretty sure all of us knew like this is going to be the last thing of this session. And we're sitting there fucking discussing and taking this riddle apart. And then we're like, this is the right answer. It was not. So frustrating because that was the end of our session that night.
Yeah.
Of just, fuck you. You're not there anymore.
So before that game, I told all of you that there was a possibility we were going to finish in maybe 2 sessions. And then there was a possibility it may be extended. And it was all hinged on that one singular room. Because I knew what you needed to find. I knew what it said. And if I walked in that room and heard that, I would have been like, throw that goddamn rock in there. Let's go.
It's the logical choice. It's also just, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got derailed.
It was, I think, though, for our campaign, like incredibly, almost like so fitting that if we're to fuck up as big, like as hugely as we had before, that we would go back to our last giant momentum fuck up.
This was the big hurrah. This was
like
we're gonna fuck it up.
It makes sense of like on the heels of us being like, oh my god, we fucked up, to be back in the place that we fucked up before. Be like, well, you don't have to fucking rub it in. Like we.
Also, Josh.
Yeah.
This is a question. I remember you talking about this. The horse-drawn carriage that got us into the castle. That was you, right?
No, that's part of the book.
Is that
part of the book?
Yep.
I only asked that because I was thinking, like, if you snuck your way into the castle or whatever, like, however you got in the castle, I could see this particular thing be like, oh, it's a trick. You know, people love having adversarial DMs. I'd be like, ha, you'll think you'll get where you're going. No, you end up somewhere else after having, like, had to bust your ass to get into the castle to begin with.
Well, the way that the book constructs it, it's possible that Strahd's carriage can get to you even right after you go to the death house. And you just treat that when you go there as like you put all the enemies aside because they're obviously going to wreck your party. And you have that be their initial trek in there, Strahd messing with them. You get to that room and that's like, okay, we can finally get out of here. And that's like your pull the plug moment. It's also a way of like, if you go in there, in Dice Camera Action, it was a big thing of them. I think they popped to the Amber Temple or something.
Yeah, I think there was one that leads to the Amber Temple. Because we talked about this afterwards.
Yeah.
You like told us what all the other ones connect to. And they were much worse choices we could have made.
Yeah. Like in that game, Rahadin or someone else came down and was like hunting them down. So they're like, get out. And they use that as like an escape because of a big combat situation. But for you guys, it was an obvious answer. Now, I forgot who I was talking to about this, but one person, it may have been Max, brought up the fact of, well, that's really strangely worded. Why would they word it that way? Is it meant to trick you? But the card that you pulled from Madame Eva, it just so happened to point to like the treasure is going to be in the crypts or the coffins or something.
Right.
If you pulled another card, you would have looked at all that and said, none of this applies to me.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So it was just the way that it kind of fell out that's the solution that made sense. And again, It was a very smart, wrong decision. Yeah.
I will say before we move on to the next episode, a little behind the scenes of the editing. I was this close, right after Josh said you are at the coffin maker shop, to just have a wah, 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 wah.
I will say that
No
after
credits.
completely like bitching as much as I did about not getting a long rest, we ended up outside of the castle where I could get another long rest, and I was like,
Listen, careful what you wish for.
Yep.
Sometimes you end up in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I remember after this session, texting Josh and being like, "Oh no, consequences are coming for us, and they're gonna be bad." And like that was like a legitimate fear from mine from like this session to the next session of like, oh God, what are our consequences? Like what is now going to be harder and more difficult for us to do? Like I thought for sure we like maybe think we're not going to be able to get stuff to help us. Like maybe we're just going to get right into the fight at the beginning and get fucked over. So it was a very anxious however many weeks between those sessions.
Now, you bring up consequences, and I wanted to definitely hit on this because all of us who have DM'd before, we know that if your players do something dumb and stupid and against their character or something they really just shouldn't have done, the consequences that you throw at them should make them feel like, oh, I should never do that again. Like, that would be dumb.
Learning experiences.
Exactly, learning experience. The problem that I was having was you guys didn't make a bad decision. You made a wrong one, but there was nothing bad about it. It was not stupid. It was very well thought out, and it just didn't go in your direction. But I had to still give a consequence in some way. That was the kind of balance I was having. And as we get into this next episode, I'm hinting at a potential consequence, which is when the carriage pulls up at the end of the episode, which we'll wrap around to, you see Van Richten's eye patch. That's the consequence line I'm going down, which we don't know anything about that yet, but except for Kent thinking that Van Richten's been turned into a horse. Which was great.
That was a mixture of Kent and me. I totally forgot about the necklace around the last horse. Right? It was a necklace. And so I was just like, oh my God, the eye patch. It's Rictavio's eye patch. He's a horse.
Nick, let me ask you this. How would you feel if Horse shows up wearing Rictavio's eye patch and then Strahd just like double taps that horse in front of him?
Oh my!
How would Kit have felt?
We would have fought right then and there. We would have gone toe to toe. It would have been even funnier if like
the horse drew a gun on you. That would have been better.
Okay, that would have been
that would have been great.
The other thing that I want to very quickly mention is Max brought up to me that after you guys ended up in the coffin maker shop, the next episode it kind of loses a lot of that emotional tension that we think would have been there. That's because it was the next session. John, how much did you cut out after we landed in the coffin maker shop?
Oh, like 30 minutes.
You had 30 minutes of screaming. So the emotional stuff was there. It was just cut out from the earlier session, and there was like a while to get into it. Some mental kind of dialing back, calming.
I hate that you segued because I just I thought of an amazing fucking pun right as you started talking.
The horse drew a gun.
Yeah, no, the horse drew a gun,
No.
and Kent just goes, "Oh my God, Van Richten, are you a horse?" You just hear, "Nay, bitch."
If you're in the Twitch chat, I posted a great image of a horse pulling a gun on Kent.
what?
It's not actually Kent. You just
Okay.
Wonderful. All right, so it's 8:20, so we're going to move on to the next episode, which is character building episode. Now, Morgan, you explained episode 49. Who would like to take episode 50?
Not me.
Because
Not.
I think Nick should, because he was trying to drop in and eavesdrop on every conversation possible.
Oh, bless his heart.
This is a little
Two
different.
conversations, no words.
Wait, so there was a conversation between Ven and Krusk, but that was the last. That was later. The first conversation happened between Krusk and Charlotte.
Yep.
And they were just like, "Hey baby, how you doing?" And then he was like, she was like, "No, we're not tonight. I'm super angry. I was doing really well in there." And Chris is like, "But come on, we might die tomorrow." And she's like, "No, not tonight. I'm super angry." That's all I heard through the wall. And then I tried to listen in to Van and Crust's conversation, and I got distracted. And I'm pretty sure I didn't really hear much. I mean, I remember
hear
what
anything
happened.
because
Everything
Crust
was in
and
everyone's
Al's
head.
Conversation happened in their heads, and
Yeah,
then
but like You could
Ben had a conversation with our scene, which also happened in the head.
Oh, yeah.
I forever want Nick to do all the recaps.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the best.
He's
Yeah.
like, what's his name from Ant-Man?
Right?
Oh,
honestly, it'd be really
I know
funny.
a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy who knew a guy.
He said, "Is this legit?" And she's like, "It's totally legit."
Yeah, then okay, so Krusk and Charlotte had the conversation. Will they, won't they? They didn't, because she was very upset about how the last episode went.
mm-hmm.
And then and our scene had a little like, yo, what's the deal with this dynamic in our body right now? And then
Being a bad roommate.
they yeah, exactly. They agreed that they were better off separately, and that after Shot is done, they'll work to separate from each other, which I found very sad, because like they clearly grew up like through this entire campaign. They got closer and closer, and they became one, and now they're already talking about splitting up. So that was very sad for me. And then Ven and Krusk had like a conversation where Ven's like, I don't trust myself. I'm dangerous. I don't deserve this weapon. You should take it because you are more trustworthy and you're pure good and you're great. And Kent was chilling, eating breakfast with his Mark.
You just reminded me of my grandmother who used to watch soap operas. My very Italian 4'6" grandmother. Yeah, well, that was that. And then while you were eating downstairs and having your talk about Cheerios and such,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
yep, Krusk and Charlotte had another conversation after Krusk talked to Ven about swapping off the Sun Sword.
Mhm. Yes.
And then someone showed up. Who showed up?
Cyrus,
Cyrus.
Oh yeah, Cyrus showed up, and
the boy.
he got hurt by Strahd, and we tried to like help him, but he didn't want our help, and he's like, no, this is who I am. I'm super happy with my master. My master's really good to me, even though he beats the crap out of me. Which is like, I'm not gonna king shame you, whatever you want, like whatever.
Yeah.
Then the cart came, and I thought that Rictavio was a horse. I still kind of do. Yeah, and that's how the episode ended.
Yeah, getting
I'm
us
really
there.
good at this, guys. I remember stuff, right?
I just want Nick to forever do this now, though.
Done.
It's fun. Oh no.
Yeah, especially with your next character, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was all of that. Does anyone have anything to add from episode 50?
There's a lot more that I missed out. Guys, please fill in my blanks.
50 was a big.
It's all RP. So
It was
yeah.
all
It's all
RP.
Mm.
Yeah. So 50 was a big moment for me because I had been. Some of you might know, and anybody who's met me personally knows that I care about things about at least 20 times more than anybody, human person, normally should. So I was pretty upset about how some things had gone down in 49. So I worked a lot of those out with Drew via like Krusk and Charlotte in that session, and that was a really good way for me to kind of put like my frustration as a player into a character moment for Charlotte. Because I love Drew, he's my friend. I like him. I like playing games with him, but I was mad at him. I was mad at Krusk, and putting that venting through that was really, really good. And I thought it was a really nice way to look at the dynamic that Krusk and Charlotte have that isn't just the super lovey-dovey gross bullshit, but like, this is why these two people work so well. Like, this is why they're together. It's not just like the cheesy two-dimensional characters. Like, there's some depth here. So I was excited to have that in there.
Agreed. Drew?
I mean, she said it all. I feel like I don't feel like I have anything to add to that.
Well, then in that case, actually, Drew, you and I will probably have more of a conversation on the next Talking Initiative because of how episode 51 starts.
Oh God, I haven't listened to that one yet.
It's the carriage ride back.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And
there's
you stood
going
up.
to be a lot to talk about in that one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but John, your conversation with Arsene,
Yeah.
I know you were planning that for a while because you were rationalizing how everything kind of happened. What was that for you talking to me as a character that's in your head, and how did that all go for you?
Well, it kind of spawned from the idea that since this whole merging thing has happened, Ven has experienced failure after failure after failure after failure, and he's just fucking sick of it. And leading up to this castle, he's been nervous because he's like, I'm gonna fuck it up again. Something's gonna go wrong, and then something went wrong, fucking wrong. And turned out that the idea of merging two beings, completely different beings together, fucks with the head, and emotions clash. People don't experience the same thing. Sometimes the Pacific Rim dual pilot shit doesn't flow properly and shit gets out of whack. And I was kind of excited to have that side of Ven and Arsene show through, of just like, hey, this is weird and this seems off. And the very logical side of Ven being like, this is a fucking mistake. This is not good. This has been bad this whole time. And then the young, optimistic, and bright side of Arsene being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is fun. I'm enjoying some shit. Let's go eat a fucking rat. So it was interesting had that, like, just that dynamic of a 76-year-old half elf, half drow talking with essentially a teenage dragon.
Do you think that conversation went as you thought it would?
More or less.
Okay.
Cool. I think so. I think that Arsene would have assumed that nothing was wrong, and Ven would have been the notice that like something's up.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I was glad we had that because Nick, you putting in all the humor around it, and everyone kind of RPing was a good stress break from the start of the castle. From my perspective, because everyone was getting a little loopy from being inside somewhere and they just wanted it to be over. And then from everyone else's perspective of we're in this castle and we want it to all be over already. And ending up in the coffin maker shop was not a great place to be.
No. Kind of poetic.
It was very so much in here. Like, people can look at this and be like, wow, that was really well thought. It wasn't thought out. It was not at all. Things just happen, and your brain goes, oh, that works well. That's cool. The coffin maker shop was an immensely poetic place to be. And as much as it sucked, I'm glad it happened because I thought it was better for the story that way. And we'll see how it turns out for everybody in the end, which I think we're going to have like 56 episodes total, 55, something like that.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah, so we're getting real close to the end there.
I was expecting we were going to hit mid-60s.
Nope. No. Yeah, I just finished the third to last session. That's episode 51. And then I think John's is going to be either 2 or 3, and mine's going to be 2 or maybe
See, we
3.
initially thought it was going to be longer because we were like, oh, we'll get 3 episodes out of every session. And then as we're cutting through it, it's like, nope, we're getting 2 out of each of them.
That does make sense because
cut it down.
The closer we got, the more there was a lot more pauses and discussion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of thinking.
Yeah, especially like the big battles, like the Babla Saga fight and Rahadin. There was a lot of downtime. Rawhide, yes. Rawhide and yeah, there was a lot of just downtime of thinking of spells or thinking of strategy and going over a lot of rules and such, and a lot of just thumbing through books. So that could be condensed massively, and we just wanted to keep the pace up. Yeah. So if no one has anything else to add to that, we can move on to some questions.
Preguntas.
John, you made this amazing document. Would you like to choose your first one? Oh, and before we do, here's the new thing for talking initiative questions. They are open to everyone. However, patrons of, I think, the $3 tier or more, they get priority with their questions, so they will be answered first. But as with everybody, if a question is deemed inappropriate or it's going to be spoilery, we will not be able to cover it. And that'll be at our discretion. But, John, would you like to choose a question?
Let's see what we got. I'll answer this one from VV9087. To those that have DM'd before, what's your preferred role, player or DM?
Well, John, Mr. DM.
Player.
Drew.
DM.
Nick, you are about to DM for your first time, so
as of right now, I like playing.
Yeah.
But I see the allure of DMing and having control over this world. You know, it's kind of it's very interesting. So maybe my answer will be different after this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, which that'll be a private game. So for everyone who's like, oh, when is that happening? It's going to be a private game for Nick and some people. But we're curious to see how it goes.
Well, after the whole point of the private game was just to really get a feel for it before I start recording. You know, I don't want to just go in completely blind.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Morgan, you have not DM'd yet, but I know you definitely want to soon. For me, I enjoy DMing a lot. I'm getting the itch back because I'm not DMing anymore. Honestly, it's such a toss-up, but I enjoy playing in other people's games. I think the guesting in shows playing is my favorite dynamic to have. Because I like seeing the dynamics of other tables. I like to see how other people DM, so that way I can see what I like and don't like and maybe change my style up. And getting to play alongside some awesome people in the meantime is fun. Like the Nerd Immersion game that I'm currently in with Bucky, that's going to be going on Monday. Man, it's a lot of fun. It is fun. It's just a really good time. And I get to experience different characters that way too. But yeah, I think that's my preferred thing. But man, I have a DM itch again. It's a real thing. Nick, do you want to ask a question?
Sure.
Just so you guys know, for the sake of the actual document, the ones that are gold on the left are the patrons.
Cool. Let's do this first long one. Lilith asks.
Lilith
asks, Josh, how do you keep on top of all the different threads and plots that were running at the same time? And how did you try to and make sure that the party actually attempted to find the treasures they were supposed to? One of my parties has made no attempts at all so far. And everyone who has DM'd as well. How do you even vaguely keep the party on a vague track through a module like Curse of Strahd?
Okay, so let's deconstruct that question a bit. How do you keep on top of all the different threads and plots that were running at the same time? For this game in particular, there wasn't a lot of overarching plots. There was these smaller arcs, which the way I kept track of those was just treating each arc as a separate entity, kind of moving into one another. That way there wasn't too much overlap going on at the same time, because then it would feel a little muddled. So as an example, we covered Van Richten coming in and introducing himself, and Kent finding out a bit of his backstory and where the items he has come from. And then right after that, start to fall into Ven's backstory. And then start to hit Roz is dead. And then move on to Krusk and Charlotte and start to see those characters kind of build. But the overarching plot of Curse of Strahd was relatively simple. It's find the items, go to the castle, and good. I didn't have to keep you on track with that. You guys wanted Mikhail back, for one. So that was a self-driven thing. And two, you guys wanted to get the hell out of Barovia. And the quickest thing to that is getting as many items as possible to help you defeat Strahd. I didn't have to keep track of anything. For a party that isn't looking for those things actively, maybe give it a little bit of a reason to be around there. Maybe have some news coming from that area that will draw them to that place. So that even if they're not looking for it, maybe they'll find it accidentally. Just trying to give a little bit of focus. It's not necessarily railroading, but planting seeds in their heads of what they may find interesting, so that way they can go get it themselves. And then go
get a Staples button, but reprogram it to say investigation check, and just gift them to your characters so they can just tap it when they need it.
So for you guys, everyone who has DM'd as well, how do you even vaguely keep the party on a track through a module like Curse of Strahd? I went about my method. What do you guys tend to do?
I personally will let them have their fun, and then I restate the issue they're dealing with. But if they actively will not hunt for the items, I'm going to let them go on their own way, and eventually they're going to beat Strahd, and it ain't going to be pretty.
They're going to die.
Like, I'm only going to offer so many prompts to make. Do you want to get the magical kill button? No? Okay. Well, cool, I guess.
Yeah. I think the way that we can say it for this campaign is you can lead a mule to water, but you can only kill it once. I don't know the exact phrasing what it's supposed to mean.
That's the thing, is like, sure, if they just want to go off on their own way, let them go off on their own way. And it's an unfortunate truth of they're just going to have to deal with we were talking about earlier, consequences. Their consequences are they didn't find the items they needed to fight the big boss. Like, the big boss isn't going to hang out forever.
Yeah.
Like, Strahd, maybe some big boss, but Strahd's definitely not the kind who would just hang out and do nothing forever. He's eventually going to be like, cool, I'm going to go kill those guys.
Yeah, if they're not interesting to him anymore, then awesome. John, since you're doing a module right now, and in about 30 minutes,
Well,
what's your thought?
it's not Curse of Strahd.
No, but it's still a module.
Spoiler alert, it's not Curse of Strahd.
From the top, let's do it again.
But-
It was, right?
For a game like Curse of Strahd, since going from the question as it is, if I was thrown into a situation like that where my players didn't want to do anything, I feel like you guys pretty much nailed it on the head. You just give them consequences. You know, they're going off and doing their own thing. They're not going after the treasure. The game itself has a milestone system where when you get the treasure, you level up. They don't level up. And then they just completely ignore the plot. Something's gonna happen. Strahd will show up. Something will get summoned. Some big bad thing will get summoned. Boom, character's dead. Happens. You're not following the rules. Especially for a land like Barovia, where it's literally, this is Strahd's rules. If you don't follow Strahd's rules, Strahd gets mad, bad things happen.
Yeah.
You have to instill that sense of fear and dread that this module has. But for the next module that we're going to be doing, that was a little bit different because it's very open-ended, very, very vast, and it could go many, many different places. And for something like that, it's a lot of, like Josh said before, putting seeds in people's heads. You know, you introduce very small snippets of things here and there that might be interesting to some people and put some like emphasis on things. And then later on, when something is relevant, people will go, oh, fuck. And they'll make it a big deal. They'll make it a really big deal. And that'll be the thing that they want to go after. And on top of that, no one's looking at your notes. You have your own personal DM notes. None of your players are going to be looking at that shit. You have pinpoints and guidelines of the things you have to hit. Somebody goes off track. Maybe they'll run into that dragon they're supposed to meet. If they went left instead of right, maybe that dragon who's supposed to be on the right shows up on the left now that they're supposed to meet.
Yep. As long as you make it seamless for your players,
Right.
It won't matter.
You make it happen. No one's going to read your notes. No one's going to be like, that's not supposed to be there because no one read the fucking module. And it's your game. You're the DM. Drop the DM hammer if they start complaining.
Yeah.
Also, let's just take a moment. Everyone think, what if we did just release Strahd again? What if it was just Bucky ran Strahd right after Josh? Just to see what changed.
See, I thought
It's Curse of Strahd in reverse.
first session, John, you were gonna put away Storm Kings and take out Curse of Strahd after we were on the road.
I thought. See, here's the thing though. I was gonna make a really big joke out of it, but I didn't because you already called me out on it. I was gonna pull out of the Abyss, and I was gonna be like, no, we're not going.
I would have
Like,
loved to do
wouldn't
Out
it
of
be
the
funny
Abyss.
if we went to sleep and we went to Out of the Abyss? And I was like, yeah, Josh, it would have been fucking great if we recorded that in the podcast.
You ruined it. You ruined everything.
You're welcome. All right, next question. Drew.
Fuck, I gotta choose. I actually like this one considering we did just do episode 50. Lilith asks, with episode 50 being so RP heavy, which I love, by the way, which that was her. I wasn't editorializing, just so everyone knows. Which sort of session does everyone prefer? The more RP or combat mechanic heavy ones? And since I asked, I will go ahead and just answer. I'll get it out of the way. I really like RP more than combat, and I only say that because combat, pretty much in everything, like really is where you bog down because that's where the crunch really comes in. So it becomes like much more. Whereas RP, you can like explore a lot more. You can explore more options by just like role playing them out.
Now, just curious question: is that the same answer for when you're DMing and playing?
Yeah, I mean, I a lot of my like one shots tend to be combat heavy, but part of that is if I'm mostly when I'm running one shots, I'm running it to like test out the system, and I want to really fuck around with the crunch. And easiest way to do that is throw stuff at people and watch them fight it,
or run away from it,
or that. But I only say that because like the other like social, quote unquote, social combat is it's not as hard to dive into because the rules for that are always so vague. You could honestly just make a call on the spot and you'd be fine.
Yeah. Morgan.
I like the RP stuff because I like talking.
Fair.
Yeah, but I also like puzzly stuff. So stuff that we get to kind of be creative with and like use our brains and try.
That was
I don't
some
know.
vibration energy coming on. I think that's Nick.
Nick's mic.
Something's rumbling
Weird
over
alien.
Nick's end.
Okay, guys, my laptop is really close to my mic, and I don't know what to do about it. I tried to move it away, make it close to me, but that's not helping at all.
It just
So
it occasionally makes a Stargate noise, basically.
It makes the sound of your upstairs neighbor playing the electric guitar, and by playing, he doesn't know how to play, but he knows how to make 3 like bass. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like that.
Yeah.
It's like
It sounds like Hypnotoad.
Or like the house party episode of Game Grumps when it goes to like the pictures and
a little didgeridoo.
How's it going, bud?
That's called the-
But I like the puzzle ones.
Yep, that's a good one. John.
For me, it's different as a player and as a DM. As a player, I'm a fan of RP sessions. As a DM, it's a mixture of both. Because as a DM, it depends on the type of RP session it is. It could be an RP session with an NPC that you have to have included. It could be an RP session that's all about the characters, and you're just sitting there like. But as far as when you're a DM, I enjoy combat as well because I enjoy thinking up creative ways of explaining the things and the moves that people do. I like taking the idea of like, oh, you have a sword, you go to make you make it attack, it hits. Like that to me is boring, where it's like you roll a number, it's over the number, you hit, yay. I like thinking up creative ways and moves and things on the spot of like, oh, you slashed with your sword, but maybe you feinted, like cut low when they thought you were going high, and like your technique, and like it allows you to have a chance to let your players shine a little bit more, giving them that like, you guys have some skill, you have some talent, you're going to use that in a fight. I want you guys to show that instead of just, hey, you hit, you miss.
Nick.
I get pretty antsy, so I actually don't really prefer sessions that are one specific thing. With fighting, I really enjoy it, but then it starts to get a little tedious sometimes. I kind of have a hard time finding new ways to attack, and also waiting your turn. I'm not very patient. And RP sessions, if they're short, I really enjoy them. I can get serious and get really into the character, or it can be silly. But also longer RP sessions, a lot of information gets thrown out, and it's hard for me to process it all. So honestly, like a little peek behind the curtain, we usually record for about 3-ish hours sometimes. So my ideal situation would be like, mix it up, a little action, little roll, little RP, maybe throw a puzzle or some investigating in there, and really change it up. Really show me like a great session is show me everything you could do in D&D in one sit down.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
For me, DMing, my favorite things to DM are the high action moments. I love to keep that pace up. Like getting out of the death house was a big one. Trying to get Callista and Ismark out of the house while they were hanging there. The entirety of Podcast of Annihilation, when it was just like that timer, it's like go, go, go. I like to just make that stress happen because it causes a lot of quick decisions. People can't think about things, and you can get some hilarity out of it, and you can also get some really cool moments because they can't think if it's a good or a bad idea yet. They just know it's an idea, and they just need to make it happen. That's my favorite to DM. But as a player, I love strategy. So puzzles are a big one, and strategic combat. But mostly at a table with a map. I like that side of things more. We don't get that with the podcast as much, but I do miss those days of homebrew. It sounds like someone has someone blowing into their microphone somewhere. I can't tell who it is.
Someone have a fan on?
My laptop fan might be it.
Oh, it might be Nick's fan.
Okay. We will
I
fix
promise
that
when we
before
start-
the recording.
When we start recording, I put my laptop in another location. You guys see me from afar. I'm waving from you back here.
Cool.
My mic is very far away from my computer.
So Morgan, question for you. Go ahead.
Oh, I have to ask a question. Okay. Rogue 2015 asks, I know just found out some of the answer to this question already, but how did you all meet?
Oh yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Who would like to discuss the meeting of the peoples? Well, actually, Morgan, since you asked a question, how'd you meet me?
Oh, so I met Josh at that is a really annoying sound. What is that? Is it me?
If it's you, you wouldn't hear it.
Oh, okay.
Nick just fixed it. Ish.
Yeah, it's
Kinda. Okay, so I met Josh at a party that Amanda McLaughlin from from Join the Party and Spirits. She was hosting at her apartment for people who were podcasting and interested in podcasting, and for some friends. And so I went there and ended up talking to Josh about a whole bunch of different stuff about podcasts, which I wasn't listening to very much of. We talked about Critical Role, which I hadn't started yet. We talked about
Mass Effect.
And I did a whole gamut of like silly accents for him. But we ended up talking, and like immediately afterwards, he DM'd me on Twitter, and he slid in my DMs. And mostly to talk about one of the accents he had just literally heard as he walked outside. It's my drunk white girl voice. So yeah, Nick.
I know that one. It's funny.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Which someone did ask what the funniest accent you can do is.
if we manage to ask all the Patreon questions, I want to answer it, but
Okay.
we've got a couple left.
Cool.
So I'm gonna just speak very quickly, and then we ended up talking on Twitter, and then texting, and then yeah.
Yeah. So then we invited Morgan to join the podcast.
Yes.
Because we need another player at the time. Because that was the first
Yes.
time that Donna ended up dropping out, so we pulled in Morgan.
Mhm.
But that's how that all started, and now Morgan and I are together.
Yes.
But Bucky and I have been friends since junior high school.
we've been dating since we were like 13.
That's fair.
The bromance is strong.
Yeah, we've been best friends for the last 18 years or 17 years or so. And then when I started working at the company I'm working at, I pulled in John, and also Drew and Nick worked at that company too, and that's where we all met each other. And then they
I
met.
actually trained Nick how to do his first job there.
That's
Yes,
true.
you did.
That's very true.
You're the only reason why I still have a job.
None of us work that job anymore.
None of us. We all got out as quick as we could.
Yep. So now Drew, John, Nick, and I all work in post-production. Drew works in one facility. The three of us work somewhere else. And Morgan works in entertainment from a different perspective.
I work in advertising.
Advertising.
The boring side of it.
It's a thing, though. And it's entertainment. So also all kind of the same industry, just from different perspectives. Which honestly has probably helped the podcast a lot, because we have more of an ear and an eye for editing and the software and all that kind of stuff, and just general love for stories, which is good.
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we got 10 minutes to bang through these Patreon questions.
Okay. Lilith asked a very good question. How do you get into the mindset of your character when you do an RP session? Me, I talk to myself for a while beforehand and usually hit my key phrases to try and pop myself into an accent. That's it. That's all I do. Nick.
I try to listen to the most recent episode so I can actually remember what I'm going to be RPing about. And I listen to I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred. Right? That's who sings that song? I'm too sexy for my shit.
Well, curious though, Nick, because you've played one-shot characters. How do you get into the mindset for like Biter or Chirp?
Oh, I usually just like I think of a already formed character that's similar to mine, and kind of just like embody that, and then just tweak it to however I've decided my character will differ. So like for Biter, I imagined Donnie Thornberry for a while. For Chirp, I tried to be a Han Solo-ish, but
Han Solo, you were Han Solo.
I was Han Solo.
You happened to be a bird person instead of just a straight up boring human.
I love silly characters. They're just so funny. I'll take recommendations. Anybody have any?
Also, sidebar, Han Solo would be better as a bird person. Just saying.
Easy.
Drew.
I always know the 3 main drives of my character, and that's it. They just have 3 main drives, and I worry about everything else is, not filler, but like every person has like a core, like 3 core concepts more or less that they like stick to constantly. That's what I know, and everything else like it's situational. That's how people live.
So you kind of embody the flaws, bonds, ideals kind of concepts.
Yeah, like yeah. I know what drives them, what they'll avoid, what they will seek at all costs, that kind of thing. Like because like there's no absolute with humans, with the like rare exception, but it's like, oh, this person wants money, they will attempt to get money until the situation comes up where getting money might kill them, and then they are afraid to die, so that takes precedence over getting money. Like,
cool, John.
I write backstories the size of novellas, so every single question and situation that could ever come up gets answered through that.
Fair
and also
factual.
For the sake of Ben, right before we play, every time I listen to 2 Becomes 1 by Spice Girls.
We become one.
Morgan.
So a little bit of Nick's. I like to listen to the episode that we just did, or the one previous. And I also base them off of particular like character archetypes. So Charlotte is based off of Tahani from The Good Place. Yeah, her accent is my attempt at her accent. Yeah, so yeah, that's the thing. So that's her basis. A couple of other characters I've like started with someone. Ray Ray is based off of a guy named Ray Person, who is a real person, but also fictionalized in Generation Kill, which is an HBO series. So I start with usually like an accent or like a character type, archetype, and then I go from there. And yeah.
Okay. I believe that covered everybody. Well, let's go back to the top. John, next question.
This is from Castle. What's your favorite RPG you've never played?
I'll start. Bucky got me the Dragon Age book, and I've only read the character portion of it because Sage is planning on running a game, so I don't want to spoil the GM stuff, but I want to play it, and I want to put it all in my eyeballs, and I'm very excited about it.
Drew, I know you want to play a lot of systems, so...
Oh, God.
Just one, though. Just one.
This is not a question to ask me on the spot, Josh. Oh, my God. Mistborn.
Okay.
Yeah.
John?
Bluebeard's Bread.
Ah, fuck, that's a much better one. Fuck.
Nick.
I'm stealing his answer.
Big mother effing crab chuckers.
Yeah! Love that game.
Me, it would probably be Hyper Lanes or something that we can play at Guardians of the Galaxy campaign.
Ooh.
Oh, what?
Come and villain me.
We should do
Come
that.
and villain me.
Dum. Okay, so that's that answer. Next is Drew.
I'll go with Michael's question. My question is for the current characters individually. If you woke up in your house,
Actually,
with your house on fire,
let's make
the only thing you are the clothes on your back, and you only had time to grab 3 things. What would they be? I take it this is for the characters.
So shall we move that to a mailbag question?
I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Cool.
In which case, it would just the last Patreon question would be Castle. I just re-listened to the pilot because I'm catching on the Once a Future Nerd, and Vin mentions, kind of in character, that decided his grandmother was from Barovia live in the first episode. When did Josh decide that would become a major plot point?
Well, when you mentioned the grandmother thing in Barovia, I'm like, did you find the book in my backpack and knew where we were going?
Yeah. I read the script, dude.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I did pass the draft around. I thought no one read it.
Yeah, no, of course I read it.
Okay.
I read it, and I was like, man, this ending is just so okay.
So it became a major plot point.
Also, where did the dance number come in, Josh?
We didn't hit that yet. Just like every Disney or Madagascar kind of movie or something, it's in the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
Big dance sequence. And it's just Nick and Morgan.
The last episode is actually going to be a video podcast. It's going to be great. I'm just
It's
going
gonna
to
be Nick dancing for 3 hours straight.
It's going to be awesome.
But I made it a major plot point after Madame Eva gave the cards because I wanted to make sure where the players were going first before I started dipping into where the backstories would come in. And then while I was hunting around, I found the Argynvost Holt chapter. I read that it was about a silver dragon and went, oh, well, okay. It's right there. It's in the book. Of course I'm going to use it. Why would it's good. So it was basically in the middle of Barovian Rhapsody where I figured that out. And then when John and I were talking about making Ven the other archetype and combining the characters, I started fumbling around that a little bit more. But yeah, that's all the Patreon questions. And we have 3 minutes left. So,
right.
Morgan, would you like to read out the next question
Yeah.
in your drunk white girl accent?
Also, if Morgan's accent is like skills are like if they're so impressive, what's the most hilarious accent she can do? So personally, I think that my so like all white girls when they're drunk kind of have this like suddenly from the valley experience. But the thing that I feel like most people should know is that like girls when we're drunk, like this you need to get the bathroom experience because every drunk white girl or drunk girl in general has had an experience in a bathroom where she's holding her friend's hand and is like, or her face in her hands is like, I just think you're super pretty. And like, you don't like fuck him because you don't deserve. You're just so nice. And I like your hair. And I know I met you 5 minutes ago, but I just think you're great. You're so great. And you just don't deserve that. He was an asshole.
I wish men's bathrooms were as nice as women's bathrooms are.
No, we don't
They're
talk.
so supportive.
Yeah.
I was once really drunk and I fixed a girl's dress and I was like 3 tequila shots in. She was like, I'm on a date with a guy and it's our first date and he's a lawyer and I really need this to go well. And I was like, she's like, her dress strap had broke and I was like, fuck it. I've got a sewing kit in my bag. I'm gonna make you get married tonight. Fucking fixed her dress. It's like you deserve a hot lawyer in your life. You really do. I just met you, but I'm gonna make that happen for you. This is tangentially, I have a minute left, very related to my former boss's voice, and she is the best person in the whole world. I love her so much. She is 120% ridiculous. But Steph, I always know where she is in the office because you can just hear her go, hello. She told me, she'll tell me stories. And she's like, I don't know how I ended up there. I was just like in this guy's apartment and he like does Botox like on the side for like extra cash. And we got into his apartment and it was entirely lobster themed. There were buoys hanging from the ceiling. And like his coffee table was a crab trap with like Beanie Baby lobsters in it. And I was like, oh my God, how far does this go? Like his bedroom had a pillow on it with a lobster on it. And I was like, Stephanie, what the fuck were you doing in his bedroom? Why were you getting Botox in this man's apartment? Like just the craziest person. But my favorite thing is that she was like, I told him that he ran a really tight ship, but he didn't get it. And I made a pun. Like Stephanie. And this is a rule for everyone. If a man is not smart enough to get a pun about the sea in his lobster-themed apartment, he is not smart enough to put botulism in your face. Okay? That's a rule to live by, everybody. That's my second favorite accent because Stephanie is one of the funniest people in the room.
So that drunk accent is the one
Yeah.
that you told me at the party. And then when I was waiting for the subway that night, 2 girls came up and I heard the voice and turned because I thought it was Morgan. but they were just two very drunk girls. I texted her, I'm like, oh, whoa. That was dead on. But on that pearl of wisdom, it is...
Well, I was going to say before we close out, does anybody else want to do their silliest accent?
Oh, yeah, everybody else do it.
Oh, everyone knows mine. Morgan hates it.
I don't like it.
It's Hugh Hackerstone. I love his voice so much.
Hugh Hackerstone. Oh. I look behind the curtain here. The only reason why I don't like it so much is he tried to dirty talk me and didn't want to.
That was just
the most traumatizing experience of my life.
Well, let's give it some. Hold on.
Sexy moment that we've ever had.
Let's frame this very quickly. We had a funny chat where we tried to take a sexy voice and read things that were unsexy.
And then we flipped it. I did Julia Child. I will say that I did Julia Child.
You should not have given context because that was way funnier.
I think the context also made it worse in its own way.
Once you take your pants off. Yeah.
Nick, do you have any silly accents?
Not any good ones. I can't do anything good. I'm really good at hearing somebody do an accent and repeating it perfectly.
Your old man voice was fucking great.
Felix. Yes.
Felix is great.
How did Felix go? Oh, I can't remember it. Damn it.
I broke my leg.
My hip's just broken.
My hip's broken. Also, whoever your grandpa.
Oh, yes.
Grandpa Brickwood voice was great.
Oh,
what was the stripper's name?
Justice.
Justice.
Won't you carry me, Justice?
Justice, please.
Drew, what about you?
I don't know. I just say dumb things. I don't have an accent.
It's probably was it Melvin?
Milton?
Milton.
Milton is stolen. No, Milton is from Game Grumps.
Milton?
But Milton talks like this and sells Miltons.
I think Mikhail was fucking great.
Yeah.
Hello.
I do a thing and then I go with it and it's always dumb every time. So that's my best accent. It's always dumb every time.
John?
I currently can't do my silliest accent because it's actually going to be a character in the next campaign that I can't.
Okay, fine.
It's an accent I've been working on for a long time, and I'm waiting for a very pivotal moment in the story.
Well, what's the second funniest then?
Also, I want to go back. This is my silliest accent right now. Hi, everybody.
I want to say Heinz. I love Heinz.
Heinz, yep.
Heinz.
Oh, hello there.
All right, so on the silliness that we tend to embody on this show, we will leave and have some more silly adventures for our next campaign recording, which will be starting momentarily, where we will pull in Hannah and we will have a good time. So that's it for tonight.
Choices.
Oh yeah, more bad choices. The next episode for Talking Initiative will be on February 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern, right on this channel. This is the new channel because we switched everything over. As a reminder, we have a new Idle Champions code every episode coming out. Please take a look in the description of the episode for your free gold chest in the game. Thank you to Idle Champions for supporting our show because I enjoy playing the shit out of your game. So thank you for that. Me personally, I'm Josh Perault. I'm the DM for Taking Initiative currently. You can find me on Twitter at XiroxisTheBeard. That's at XIROXIS the Beard. And you can find Taking Initiative at TI_pod. Drew, where can they find you and what do you do?
They can find me on Twitter at NotThatDrew, and I do couch for it, and I have a project coming up this year that's going to be, I don't know, something. It's going to be a podcast thing. That's all I can tell you right now.
Okay.
Nice.
Nick.
I'm Nick Figueroa. You can find me on all the socials at Nico Figs, or just search my name. I pop up. I play Kent Brickwood of These Farthing Brickwoods for now.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Morgan.
You can find me at two places on Twitter. You can find me at Thistleраven, where you can find me yelling at the MTA and talking about nerd shit. And you can also find me at Morgan E. Conroy on Twitter, which I talk about political stuff. Speaking of which, and if you live in New York City, you should keep an eye out for the public advocate race. Everybody and their great-ass grandma are in that race right now, but it's a special election that's really short. So just keep an eye out and see who you might be interested to be our advocate in the city. It's really important. And remember, if you're not registered to vote, please get registered to vote. And I love you all. Bye.
And Mr. Jonathan Buckmaster.
I'm Bucky. You can find me on Twitter at Bucky_Masters. And in my spare time, I'm still Bucky.
That's fair. All right, that's it for the show, guys. We will see you next time. Catch episode 51 next Monday. And we will see you all then. Bye, guys.
Bye.